In this video, you are going to get to know about sunk cost fallacy. And you'll also get to know about what sunk cost is and various examples where the sunk cost fallacy harms us in various stages of our lives. And last but not the least, you'll also get to know about how to exactly defeat this bias. And there is also a bonus section for everyone. Now let's talk about sunk cost fallacy. But before I go on talking about sunk cost fallacy, you have to know what sunk cost is. Sunk cost is the cost that you have already paid that you are not going to get back anymore. And sunk cost fallacy is pushing through with a potentially bad investment thinking about the sunk cost. Meaning thinking about the cost that you have already incurred and thinking that that will be completely lost, even though you are not going to gain anymore in the future. And now, before I go on with explaining examples, I'm going to have to ask you to consider subscribing to this channel. Just remember that there is an option of subscribing and turning on the notification option so you will get to know whenever I upload in the future. Now, at the very beginning of the video, I have talked about what sunk cost is before asking for your subscription. I did that so that you do not feel like I am using the sunk cost fallacy to keep you watching till the very end of this video. Now I am going to describe how various YouTube channels take advantage of the sunk cost fallacy to extend their watch time and increase their video length. Let's say that you are browsing YouTube and you might see an interesting video title and a thumbnail. You see that the length of the video to be unusually larger than the topic at hand. Let's say that the topic of the video is how to tie a tie in 30 seconds. That's something I would be interested to watch. But the video length of these kinds of video might be more than 10 minutes long. Shouldn't that video be around 30 seconds long? Well, the YouTube algorithm does not allow that anymore. There was a time when 30-second long videos were recommended in the recommendation tab. But nowadays, the longer the videos, the better. The thing is, I am not blaming the creators for that. If someone makes a 30 seconds long video, it is not going to be promoted by YouTube that much. Unless it is Shane Dawson, of course. Then that's a different story. So let's move on from the rambling about YouTube. You click on the video about how to tie a tie. Now, a guy will start talking about how they have found out a super secret method of tying up a tie that no one else can teach you about. This method is so good that you are going to be able to tie your tie within 30 seconds. They will go on and on and on about the first 3 or 4 minutes about how good this method is and how much time it is going to save you. The real technique is probably shown in after 6 or 7 minutes in the video. It is not even in the end of the video since people have the tendency to skip to the ending of the video. Now here is the real kick. The technique that is likely shown in the video you can easily find out if you search about it in Google or even in YouTube in a shorter video. But you are less likely to click off the video since you have already watched the first 2 or 3 minutes and thinking that if I click off from this video, this 2 minutes is going to be a complete waste of time. I might as well stick to the end of it and see how to tie the tie in this entire video. Here you are thinking that the time you have already invested in there is going to be sunk cost. So you might as well get something out of it. That was a pretty harmless example of sunk cost fallacy. Now let's talk about another kind of harmless but not completely harmless example of sunk cost fallacy. Let's say that you have ordered a lot of food from the restaurant and you have already paid for it and brought it home to eat. Now you cannot keep the food for tomorrow because it will not last that long. So, because of the sunk cost fallacy, you might end up eating an unhealthy portion of the food, and as a result, your overall health is going to suffer. Now, a little more harmful. Well, in this day and age, a lot of young people have the dream of pursuing a business venture for themselves and be the next Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos. But the problem with that is the chances of a failure in a business is way higher than the chances of succeeding like that. But the good thing about that is that you can get a pretty good idea about whether your business idea is going to be a success or failure can be figured out fairly early in the business venture. You can easily spot the signs of failure in the seed stage of a business. And if you see whether the business is not going to succeed, then you have to bail out and start to try your luck in the next opportunity that knocks at your door. And here comes the sunk cost fallacy. Even though figuring out that your next business is going to be a failure, most people stay in denial and try harder to make that business into a success. Stephen R. Covey had a great example related to that in his book 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, but I'm not going to elaborate that right now. The important thing is that you can bail out of your business venture before you and the people working in that company suffers greater loss. But for the stubbornness and the sunk cost fallacy, people tend to go on longer than usual before businesses like that inevitably end up bankrupt. And the next example would be toxic relationships. I put this one for the last because I think this one is the most harmful of them all. And it is also because of sunk cost fallacy. And after hearing about sunk cost fallacy, I believe you already know what I am going to talk about over here. Pretty sure you have heard at least one or two, maybe seen or God forbid, are in one of those toxic relationships where it is pretty obvious that the partners are not compatible with each other at all, and there are elements of future harm for both parties in the relationship involved. But why don't people actually just leave from one of these relationships and start a life anew? There can be a lot of factors that go behind that. I'm not saying that sunk cost fallacy is the only reason people stay in toxic relationships. But I bet you that one of those factors actually is sunk cost fallacy. The idea of just letting go and starting anew is not appealing to a lot of people to the degree that they are willing to gamble with their future, knowing what comes next in this path is more harm and malice. I try not to get too heavy in these videos, so here's a picture of a dog. Enjoy it for a few seconds. And now the mandatory part of these videos, how to actually beat this bias. And the second mandatory part is, just by watching this video, you are one step closer than everyone else. Yes, since you have seen this video, you are one step ahead of everyone to beating this bias. The knowledge of the existence of the bias is half the point. The way to beating sunk cost fallacy is understanding and accepting the fact that you are not always going to be in perfect scenarios in all walks of life. Sometimes you are going to incur some sunk costs, and you have to accept the fact that there will be sunk costs and move on. You have to remember why you started something. If it seems like you are not going to achieve that, or it seems like you have already achieved it, then there is no point in going on forward with the endeavor. Let me go through case by case. Let's say that after eating half of the food you feel full, and it is not possible to store it for later. Do not shove the rest of the food down your body, causing it unnecessary discomfort. You need to just throw away the portion that is left over and do not think about it. In case of your business, you have to have a pre-planned goal that you are going to try and achieve. Do this certain things by this time and as a result get this reward. If your reward is not even half of what you have thought before was possible, then you have to rethink the situation. There has to be some drastic change in the business formula. Do not keep doing what did not give you your expected results for a prolonged period of time. And if it looks like the business is beyond saving, don't cling to it. Pull the plug as soon as possible. And in case of your relationships, well, I know after being in a long time relationship, even if it is a not so ideal relationship, it feels daunting to be single again and start looking for a new relationship. That first steps of relationship, let me rephrase that. The first stage of anything feels like the hardest stage. But a toxic relationship is going to cause a whole lot more hurt than anything good. And you have to understand that and move on. So the next time you start watching a movie and it seems really boring midway, just walk out of the theater. Unless your job is to be a movie critic, of course. So, my question to you right now would be, when was the last time you abandoned a TV show, not a movie, a TV show, while watching, thinking you have better things to do than to just consume whatever comes in front of you? This is not the end of this video, but I believe I have to thank people now. Thank you for watching this specific video. But the more important thing here is that there are already a huge number of people that have already subscribed to me. These people have decided that I was putting out content that was worth their time and they subscribed. Subscribing to my channel tells me that if I put out future contents, these people will now be interested in seeing them. Now, at the time of recording this video, I am at 870 subscribers. I know it does not seem like a lot of subscribers when you see people with millions of subscribers everywhere. But 870 is a huge number for me, and I know that these people are there for the content that I put out. So if you are subscribed to me, I thank you for that. For the bonus part, I'd like to say that Spanish for it's better is está mejor. Está mejor. And Spanish for it's worse is está peor. Está peor. And the second portion of the bonus part is that the capital of Switzerland is Bern. The Bern. I actually did not know that. I feel ashamed to say that, but I actually did not know that before today. But now you and I both know that. So that's a good news. And with that good news, I would like to officially end this video. And if you are still watching this video at this point, you might as well like this video and subscribe to this channel. And lastly, as always, I hope you learned something new today.